Let's talk primal path. What does that mean? What is that, and why is that so important to you?
I love that name, by the way. I did not think of it. So I would almost call him a mentor, but he's also I would call him a friend, but he's almost like a mentor as well. My buddy Jon Tyson. He would be probably considered one of the foremost thinkers, preachers, speakers, and teachers in the city of Manhattan. He's just a brilliant man. If you want someone's thoughts on a concept, just listen to what he talks about. Everything, life, money, human sexuality. He's one of those guys where you're like, dang, I've never met someone more well-read, more informed, more thought-provoking, more unique. But he's a really good friend of mine. He did this journey with his son called. So here's what's interesting. Again, it's talking about the West. You look at human cultures, all of them, they do it differently, but all of human culture is probably pre-industrial revolution and certainly outside of the West, so pretty much modern society, have done some form of initiation for their kids right when they reach about 12, 13, or 14, right? And that can look at a bunch of different ways, the National Geographic version of like the bullet ants and you wear the glove and all that stuff, right? That's a classic famous one from a tribe, I think, in the Amazon. But basically what it is your kids need to know when they go from being a kid to being an adult, or at least starting that journey. Okay, it's a very pivotal journey in every aspect of a kid's life, right? But the West doesn't have that. The West doesn't have that, right? What are ours? Like, having sex for the first time, you're getting your driver's license. They're dumb and they're not meaningful or they're hurtful. Yeah. So they're still like they're a mark, but they're not giving what the old ones used to give, right? In regards to meaning and some of them you had to go out and hunt or go out and stay, without food and water. You're basically put out in the jungle as a 13-year-old boy, and you don't come back unless you bring a pig. Yeah,
like that scene from 300 where Spartan, right? They throw him out with the wolf, and he has to.
And you got to figure it out. But but that's a moment, man. That's a moment for your identity, for your life. So John really started to understand that and see that in a lot of cultures, but realized there's nothing in the West that does that. So he basically he kind of put all that together and created this pretty insane program for his son, Nate. And he called it the Primal Path, where he basically did this crazy kickoff where, they had a severing dinner, which is because there's always, there's sociology proves there needs to be some level of psychological severing for a boy, specifically from his mother at 13. And actually that's for a healthier relationship for them. It doesn't mean like that they leave them, but it's a psychological severing. You need to have some type of a hardship you go through. There's like 5 shifts that each boy has to do in his first year that usually all those historical societies have done, blah, blah, blah. So he did it with his son. And then after those kickoffs, right, then it was a multi-year journey of him waking up every single morning with his son and teaching him basically life school for 5 years, right? Like, here's what you need to believe about money. Here's how you date a girl. Here's how you shave. Like, it was wild how intentional he was, right? And he was posting about that on social media, and people just lost their minds how epic it was. Yeah. And so then, long story short, I was like, dude, he kind of did something of like sending it to people, but it just wasn't, it was like a Dropbox link or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he would laugh about this. And I was like, dude, this is some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. You need to button this up a little bit more and make sure people have it, right? And so I kind of came alongside and kind of basically run it now. And basically, he's the content guy. And then we run it, and it's cool, and it's in churches. A ton of individual dads are doing it. And it's basically an online program where we walk you through initiating your son, and then we would use the word discipling or life forming 13 to 18. It's amazing. But it's deep, it's intense, it's tough. But it's fun because now we have a huge community. I'm sure you love that part too about when you see people implementing your ideas in their unique way. So with the initiation, you see people put their own spin on it. So there was a dad from Colorado in the tribe. Have you heard of like 14ers? You know what those are?
Yeah. Bear Mountain, Colorado.
Yeah, they have like 40 of them or whatever. It's all those mountains over 14,000 feet. This dad took his 13-year-old son and they climbed 3 14ers in one day. Now there's a specific group you have to do because it's like you're not going all the way. It's 3 that are close together, so you can do them. But yeah, it's like stuff like that. You're like, man, that's wild. But it's amazing. These sons are just being formed and deeply, you know what I mean? Yeah. Kind of transitioning from boyhood to manhood. But so I run that and help John with that. And
what about the girls? Like, is there initiation rites of passages for women?
It's yes, and it's a couple things. So, one, you need to do something for your daughters. Yeah. But again, as you dig into the research sociologically, what's really fascinating is girls absolutely need to transition into womanhood. But what's fascinating when you read a lot of the research from tribes and ancient cultures, there wasn't a lot of those for women and for girls, and it wasn't because they were sexist, but when you actually read the research, it's because girls, probably 100 to 1 more than boys, actually have those initiations in their body. Isn't that wild, right? Yeah. And that's what it talks about. Like, so you still need to do it, but it's more about nurturing the moment rather than creating the moment for them, because it's, not to be vulgar, but it's literally like they start bleeding. They start bleeding in puberty. Okay, is there anything more kind of like tribal initiating than blood? Yeah. There isn't. So it's like, so it's fascinating when you read the research. Sociologists actually say that a woman's body carries her own initiation. Now a mother and a father have to steward it and kind of like kind of pastor them in that moment, if that makes sense. But so yes, there is, but it's just fascinating how it's a little different.
Yeah, it is. I had not thought about it that way, but men don't really have there's not a moment where a boy becomes a man. There's not a physical.
I mean, a little bit more hair some places.
Yeah, your
and you're
voice
like
drops
that, but
a little.
That doesn't
maybe.
do it. That doesn't not like it's not visceral. It's not visceral. You know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's not that power of moments.
But we are coming with a girls version soon.
Oh, very cool.
A way to disciple your daughter and love on her and stuff like that.